Thanks for joining us this week on Wide Open Throttle. I'm Jessi Lang, and I'm joined by the Motortrend and Hot Rod staffers you know and love. And we're very excited to have with us today Camaro's Chief Engineer, Al Oppenheiser.
Good morning, Jessi.
Good morning. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be here.
We have been talking a lot about the resurgence of the legendary Z28. And so my first question for you is, why this, why now? What is it about this particular moment in time that prompted the decision to relaunch this historic nameplate?
The ZL1 originally was going to be called a Z28. A lot of people speculated that, but when we were doing that vehicle, it was a Z28 because we captured that iconic name and the ultimate performance car the ZL1 is. The two together would have been a hit. And it just, as we got closer to launching and introducing that car in Chicago, it just didn't sit well with me because, yeah, I'm a purist. And Z28 is an iconic name. We promised we wouldn't bring that out until the car that deserved it came out. And the ZL1 surely could have used that name, but I just decided that I gotta take this one on. So I met with Ed Welburn, our VP of Design, which you all know, and Mark Royce, who's our President of North America, who you all know. And I just said, you know, I don't think this is the right marriage of the name with the car. And I think we ought to call the ZL1 something different. And so they agreed, and we obviously came up with the ZL1 name, which fits perfectly because of the tie to the 69 aluminum block high horsepower car. But Mark said, I'm not letting you off the hook, we need to do a Z28. And so come back with a Z28 and gave us two requirements. One is you got to put it on a diet, and two is you got to beat anything that Ford could put out on the street. And so I'm happy to say we handed him the keys and said, objective met.
Done. So this is a 7-liter Camaro that's been stripped down. So the question on everybody's mind is, what's the fuel economy?
That's the question? That's not my question.
On the top 10 reasons why people buy Camaros, fuel economy is number 23. For a Z28 buyer, it's about 30, 40, somewhere around there.
Surprised it's that high.
Yeah.
You guys had a lot of engines to choose from. You had obviously the ZL1 motor, you've got the LS9, the LS3, the LT1 that's coming out in the Corvette. Now why the LS7?
Well, it fits, naturally aspirated. It's been such a great engine for the Z06. It's perfect for the track. It's lighter weight, hand-built. Perfection. Yeah.
The third and fourth generation seem to lose their way a little bit and kind of strayed from the road racing heritage. What did you do to ensure that doesn't happen again?
It's a good observation. I feel the same way. I think it was just trying to keep a name going to sell high horsepower cars. We wanted to make sure that, you know, going back to the original roots of the 67 Z28, and if you can imagine in today's market, you know, the higher the MSRP, the more stuff you get. Well, so we have to make it be the ultimate track car because air conditioning is not a standard feature on the car. So we went back to the heritage. We're saying, no, it's a true race car. And so the stuff you get is to win at the track.
You get 305 section tires at all four corners.
On the front.
That's insane. Now, how did you make that work?
We believe we've tried to find any other car that uses 305s, such a large tire patch in the front. I don't think there's anybody, you could probably prove me wrong, but I don't think there's anybody that uses such a big tire patch. This car, in order to win at the track, is obviously the power of the LS7, but it's also the brakes and the tire patch. And so we've got the 305s all the way around. I mean, we're getting consistently 1.07, 1.1 Gs laterally. The D-cell is a 1.5 G D-cell consistently.
Well, while we're talking about underneath this car, the ZL1 has all sorts of goodies underneath, aero stuff and diff cooler, all kinds of stuff that you hadn't seen on Camaros before. What's shared with the Z28, if anything, and is there anything that's better on the Z28 than the ZL1?
Things we share are the way we cool the car. We do have the liquid-to-liquid oil cooler, the diff cooler. It has the active exhaust, which we use vacuum from the intake, just like the ZL1. Some of the suspension components are more from the improvements on the 1LE, which is another one of our track winners. So we've taken over 100 pounds out of the car, and it's actually about 300 pounds lighter
Alana, I want to talk with you about the hot rod perspective. What is it you're most curious about?
Where can people go to race these cars? Is there any plan for any sort of factory sponsored team, or, you know, there were a lot of Z28s that did neat stuff in hot rod history. I think Smokey Yunick had one. He went Bonneville racing with it. They did win Trans Am with Donahue driving. I mean, it was a big deal with big name racers involved. Are there any plans for that?
Well, we're in the process with our Chevy performance team looking at opportunities. My hope is that we have a seamless relationship with our Chevrolet racing teams, and that we get a series created where this car will compete.
Now, if we go back to vintage Z28s, I think it was around 70, they basically put the Corvette engine in the Z28. Any plans for something like that?
Well, some of your readers know that you've got plenty of people that do that kind of thing. I have read your magazine forever. And
so you're going to leave it up to us?
There are people that put LS9s. You see them at SEMA every year. We offer the best you can get for the everyday person that can go buy a production car and go race and win.
So hot rodding is mostly about fixing all the compromises that OEMs generally have to make. Do you feel that there are any compromises in this car?
Good question. This car came with the carte blanche, don't make any compromises. Again, like I said, it's not going to be the car for everybody. With 305s in the front, we've redone the electronic power steering calibration. It works perfect with those tires, but that's a lot of tire. So you get the DSSV damper system. It's one of the best technologies in the world, used by Formula One. But again, it's a race car. It's not for everybody. We had lots of arguments with our electrical team, with our audio team. You know, they wanted to put the high-end stereo in. Our interior team, they're like, what do you mean you want to take the trunk carpet out of the car? It was all about keeping the focus, and my team, on a daily basis, you'll hear, remember, it's a track car. It's a road racing car.
The GM lore for decades has been that there is a hierarchy, and you cannot step on the toes of those above you. Was there a fight, that the Camaro cannot be better than the Corvette, that you guys had to limit yourselves?
So you're assuming the Corvette's above us?
Is it not?
I don't live that way. I live in Camaro land. That's a good word you use. It's lore. There was never an edict that said, at least not in my era, you can't be better than a Corvette. I don't know that I want to be. The Corvette has a specific customer. It's a wonderful match of performance and styling. We have a different customer base, just as passionate. They complement each other great. Chevrolet's got the best lineup of performance cars in the world, bar none. And I think people infer that that's some kind of mantra that you can't step on a Corvette.
I found it really interesting talking about hierarchy, because you have the standard SS Camaro, you have the ZL1, which is definitely more performance oriented, then you have the hardcore, track focused Z28, and that's not unlike Corvette ZR1, Z06, or even 911 Turbo GT3. Now within that, I'm curious who your targets are for the Z28.
Camaro lineup, as you mentioned, we've got something for everybody. We've got a 30 mile per gallon V6, all the way up to the ZL1, that's the best of everything. And in the Camaro lineup we have today, car by car, model by model, our versions beat the Mustang in whatever you want to compare it to. Since May of 2009, when we had our first full months of production data, Polk data will tell you that we've outsold them every month. The Z28 takes this to another level. I don't think they have anything that's going to touch this car, Ford or Chrysler. We're actually wanting to be in the conversations with GT3s, GTRs, SLS, AMG cars that are in that level of performance.
So lastly, let's talk about the competition. How do you feel about Ford?
How do I feel about Ford? I wake up every day and come into work looking for ways to beat them on a daily basis. In fact, I was telling you off camera, I have a poster in my office signed by the chief engineer, Dave Parasak, on a Boss 302 Laguna Seca, and underneath it says, keep them in your rearview mirror every day. And I know he does the same thing. I actually met him at a panel discussion at the Woodward Dream Cruise, and he's just as passionate as I am. I mean, that's what's great about this segment today is performance cars, in the era of electric cars are alive and well.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
But you guys don't come to like brawls, no fisticuffs or anything.
I prefer to do it with your magazines.
And our fan base, right?
All right, I want to ask you some information that I can't Google. So I'm going to ask you to describe different parts of the car or aspects of the car, and I want you to restrict your answers to 3 words or less.
Uh-oh.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, so describe for me the car's overall demeanor.
Angry.
Angry. The exhaust note.
Pissed off.
Okay, I'm noticing a theme. The shift feel.
Knife through butter.
The stance.
Badass.
The future.
Still number 1.
So I don't need to say the competition. Screwed. Is that true?
Actually, I've got one word you might need: therapy.
What kind of criticism do you expect the Z28 to receive?
I think we're going to get some negative criticism for being accused of pulling content, which we did. We went to smaller rear glass. Again, it's perfectly fine to reduce the thickness of the glass, take the mass reduction. We've lowered the car 33 mils, the center of gravity. We've gone and taken out over 40 pounds on the corners with 19-inch wheels and tires. Everything we've done had a strategy behind it to make the car better on the track. So the car itself still has Camaro character. It definitely has the Z28 heritage in its DNA.
Well, I know you didn't come here without bringing us a Z28 to scrutinize and potentially drool over.
I did.
Take us to it.
Absolutely.